everybody, welcome back to another week of the Lollygaggers Dynasty Recap. I am your host, Zang, and joined with me, as always, is the guy who jumps for fly balls when he's trying to save a no-hitter. It's my co-host, Ace. How you doing, my friend?
Brother. What a week of baseball, huh?
That was a little bit of a low blow. I'll take it on that one.
Jesus Christ, man.
Unbelievable.
It's
not Dynasty-related, unbelievable.
It's truly just, like, incredible how everything that happened in that game was so predictable the minute Yamamoto gave up that home run.
I saw the message in Discord that was like, he should have jumped for that. I'm like, come on, how bad could it be? It was
bad.
So bad.
Like, at least make an effort, dude.
Jump.
There's a very 99% chance you had absolutely no shot of making that catch. Optics of it. Just make it look like, yeah. No, actually, back up against the wall, make a jump, do something, man. Don't just watch it and then try to throw it in like it's off. Like, dude, nah. But whatever.
We all knew it was gone.
Yeah.
Well, that has been Dodgers therapy with Ace Garcia. Here we are.
Join us next week when I probably get swept by another sub 500 team.
Yes. We'll bring in the we'll make it a weekly segment, Dodgers therapy.
Jesus.
We of course are back with this is a little bit of an unusual episode for us. Ahead of time we were kind of prepping. We were like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a 15-minute episode, like, cause
it's gonna be quick.
It is gonna be a pretty quick one, as we're just recapping the two quarterfinal matchups we had, and then of course we're getting down to previewing our second to last matchups of the year. Next week, obviously, we will be back to recap those and then preview the final. The final is of course a sort of 2-week affair, so rather than kind of splitting that up and obviously like covering both parts of that, we're going to do one big recap of those. I think it's 10 days, not quite 14, to end it off, but we'll recap that all in one episode. But in between there, we might try and squeeze in a little bit of a sort of superlatives episode for all of y'all. So you can keep an eye out for that in the future. But before let's get into our matchups here. So we will start, obviously, like we said, just 2 on the matchup minute. Our first one is Big Peach versus Hideki. This was one where both Ace and I had predicted Hideki to come out victorious. He was the higher seeded person in this matchup, and it was actually a pretty close start to the first day. Big Peach had a nice strong performance from Chris Bassett with 23 points. That was kind of highlighted as one of our starts to keep an eye out on. But over on Hideki's side, he'd have some really nice performances from a couple guys that would be quite important in the matchup for him. Joe Adell with 10 points and Ryan Nelson with 21. That gave Hideki a real nice 69 points on that opening day to just 60 on Big Peach's side. But it was on that second day, on Tuesday, when we saw the lead really expand for Hideki, when he put down 106 to just 12 over on Big Peach's side. Hideki got his points on 12 from Polanco. Joe Adell again with 13, and Ketel Marte matching that number as well. Springer and Luis Severino with 21. And yes, that's right. That's a starting pitcher and an outfielder scoring the same number with 21 there. Pretty impressive day from Springer. We saw another solid day from Springer on Wednesday when he put up 11. Joe Adell again with 13. And thank God for Jeffrey Springs and his 19 there for Hideki. Over on the other side, Zebby Matthewson put up a nice 25. Jordan with 15 on Thursday for Big Peach. But Hideki's 63 points on that day were enough to hold the lead. We saw another one of those huge spreads on Friday when Hideki put up 130 points. Big day for his pitchers. Waka with 23, Gilbert with 27, Kevin Gausman with 36 there, and just 19 points over on Big Peach's side. Part of that was the minus 16 that he got from Jose Soriano. An unfortunate break on a day when he needed some pitching help. Down on Saturday was an interesting day where we saw a lot of starts from Big Peach, and a lot of these were actually highlighted as important starts. Unfortunately, they didn't quite go the way you hoped. They weren't negative starts, but just 10 from Jonah Tong in his second major league start, just 12 from DeGrom, and only 15 from Bassett. So on a day that could have been kind of a chance for Big Peach to really punch back there, we didn't quite see it. Only 37 over on Hideki's side, but he did hold that lead, 10 from Salvi to help him out, and he closed it out with the most impressive performance of the week, 140 points for Hideki to end the win off for him, 78 over on Big Peach's side. Andrew Vaughn did put up 10, and Mitch Ferris with 22, but Polanco's 11, Manny Machado's 13, and a nice solid 23 from Ryan Nelson would be enough for Hideki to close out the matchup and advance on to the semifinals. It was a dominant win from our Brazilian friend, 628 to 366. That's a 262-point spread there. Hideki was projected to win by both of us, and he did not make us look like idiots.
No, not at all. I think Hideki, we said it before these matchups, and it certainly played into the next matchup we'll get into as well, but the starting pitchers and the pitching staffs in general with these teams are really what's going to make or break you come playoff time. And for Hideki, boy, did his starting pitchers really make him. And unfortunately for Big Peach, his starting pitchers really broke him.
Yeah.
If you look at Hideki's side of the pitching staff, 364 points. That almost would have outscored Big Peach in and of itself. He put
in
up
total,
three,
yeah.
yeah, he put up 366. So like just that level of sheer dominance from the pitching staff. I mean, Hideki had one pitcher, and it was a relief pitcher, if I'm not mistaken, put up a negative points. And for Big Peach, he only had two pitchers put up negative points, but unfortunately one of those was a starter in Jose Soriano, putting up a negative 16.5. So that's, again, didn't make a difference in the long run. When Hideki's putting up 600 plus, you really just got to tip your hat, and there's not much you can do at that point. But especially when you're not getting that kind of performance from your pitchers, it is a rough go of it. But congrats to Big Peach for making it. It was an adventure to make it into the playoffs, and for what it's worth, Big Peach, even if I would have beat you last week, I would have absolutely gotten stomped by Hideki as well. So.
Yeah, I don't really think anyone was beating Hideki this week. This is sort of, in a lot of ways, fantasy in a nutshell, isn't it? Both of these teams have had kind of struggles as of late. I don't want to say they limped into the playoffs, but it's been a tough few weeks for both of them. And Peach had a tough week this time. Hideki had a good week this time, and it just happened to be on the week where it matters a little bit extra. Pitching staffs have been an issue for both of them. Obviously, we've heard Hideki's issues with Casey Mize, and he ended up trading Chris Sale because he had been so frustrating. And his pitching staff showed up this week, and it just didn't quite get there for Big Peach. So his team's certainly in a good spot. We predicted what are some of sort of the X factors. We said Jordan coming back is big. Yes, it was. He put up 38 points. He was Big Peach's best batter for the week. And to sort of tell the story of the matchup, as we said, pitching wasn't quite where it needed to be. Chris Bassett was Peach's best pitcher, but he also only put up 38 points. So, you definitely want to see your pitchers outscoring the batters a little bit with how heavily they're weighted as of right now in this league. Over on Hideki's side, not a surprise that we see a couple of big performances here. Joe Adele with 55 points. One of the league's best batters this week. And Ryan Nelson with 45.
Got him.
One of the potent pitchers for the week. In terms of potent pitchers and best batters, I did consider the whole field. So, guys, even from eliminated teams, I still counted. So, Joe Adele and Ryan Nelson, even if all 6 teams were playing, still both would have shown up on those lists. So, that is just a little peek into how dominant Hideki's performance was. This was one of those, you're doubling up on best batters and potent pitchers for the week. And, 628 is...
insane.
That's insane.
Insane.
As he said, hopefully he saves some of it for next week, because if he puts up a 315, that's going to hurt a little bit extra. But he's been the best team in the league at points. He held the top spot more than once, if I'm remembering correctly. So It may just be the team's getting hot at the right time.
I mean, that's all it comes to. It's all it comes down to right now, right? You just need to have the hot week at the right moment. And Hideki able to pull it off, and now it's just a matter of can you bring off 2 more?
It sure is, yeah. So Big Peach will join us in the eliminated, that Photoshop picture where they put the heaven opening and whenever a team folds or whatever, gets eliminated, they put them up there. Peach is kind of joining us up there now with his little
We welcome you with open arms, sir.
Yeah, we're welcome. Join us. We're having a great time. Aimlessly check fan tracks every day, and then remember you don't need to do anything with it, and close it out.
Pretty much.
So yeah, but we'll of course preview Hideki's next matchup in a little bit. But before we do, let's get on to our second matchup of the week. This was Flaming Prius versus Bose, the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. We both had Prius predicted to
win,
upset here.
Yes.
And it is interesting with how variable pitching can be. That could have made us look pretty smart, or it could have made us look like real idiots. Prius has got, obviously, as we've talked about, a really, really impressive pitching staff, and in this case, the staff showed out. And it started off pretty well for him on Monday, as he did take the lead 54-31. Carson Kelly with 13 points there did sort of open up the scoring for him. On Tuesday, he had a nice 89-point day, although Bose did put up 91 over on the other side, with Jeremiah Jackson scoring 10, Otani scoring 15, and 18 from Logan Webb there. That was one of those, that start in Colorado that we had sort of marked down as one to keep an eye on. Over on the other side, Vlad did score 11 for Flaming Prius. Caminero with 16, and Max Fried, who has continued to bounce back from that tough stretch, he scored 30 points there. Vlad showed up again on Wednesday for Flaming Prius with 72 points. Wilson Contreras and his 13 helped Bose score his 50 points. It was a relatively slow day there on Thursday over on Bose's side, as he only scored 6 points, but strong 77 on Flaming Prius' side, with Pepio scoring 27 and Skeens scoring 36. Flaming Prius did hold the lead through that day, of course. Friday was a quiet day for both teams, 42-62, but on Saturday we saw the scores ramp up a little bit again, and this was one of those days where we really saw Flaming Prius' pitching staff show out. Over on Bo's side, Naylor did score 11, Christian Walker had 13, and Brady Singer had 25, but for Prius we saw 15 from Glaber, 32 from Hunter Brown, and 38 from Tarek Skubal. And then, of course, Prius did close things out on Sunday with a strong 132-point performance, 89 on Bose from the other side. So he went out swinging on 19 from Shohei and Sonny Gray and 25 from Kershaw. But Carson Kelly with another 13. Max Fried again with a solid performance, putting up 26. And Luis Castillo with 30 helped Prius close out the wire-to-wire win there. It was 552-410. That's 142 points separating the two of them, as we do see the 6 seed Flaming Prius upset Bose Bros and O's. And Prius will be moving on to our semifinals.
Yeah, congratulations to Prius. With that kind of pitching staff, we definitely saw it coming. Unfortunately, no Martin Perez masterclass this week.
What have we come to?
But Prius didn't need it, especially with Fried putting up, like you mentioned, big performances. Total of 57 points. A couple of quality starts and a couple of dubs there. It's really all you can ask for from your starting pitcher if they're going to go twice in a week. And then the supporting cast around him. Pepio 27, Brown 33, Castillo 31, Skeens and Skubal 36 and 38 apiece. It's just these are what win you championships. And Prius definitely has the pitching staff of a champion. So
yes.
I am very, very excited to see what he does and how he performs in the coming week.
It's going to be a fascinating matchup next week.
Yes.
Something that just stood out in Prius' performance this week is he didn't have that slip up. We kind of talked sometimes, this could have been a really big start. He didn't have any of those where the guy just faltered. Yeah, you're seeing, like you said, 27s, 32s, 38s, 20s. All of his starters showed out and pitched, and it just worked out well for him. And I think a little bit of an extra sort of twist of the night for Bose, who of course was in first place going into that final week, and then lost out on, if I'm remembering correctly, a pretty close. That was the in 10 miracle run. So of course this is the nightmare scenario in fantasy, right? Being in a position where you have a bye week, losing that bye week, and then losing during the week when you would have had a bye. So obviously a tough break for Bose. he is set up very nicely, though. As we, I think Priya said it in the Discord. Full year of full Otani, if you will, is going to be something scary. And Bose did a lot of really impressive work through the trade market. I think he was a pretty underrated trader. He didn't do, he wasn't the big trades of a Mike or an Al Martinet, but he, I think, developed his supporting cast really well through trades. And he didn't really get burned on anything, which I think is important too. You don't have that one where it's like, oh, geez, or I should say, not that I can remember. He doesn't have that one where it's like, oh, geez, he gave that up early on, and then he went on to, score 1,000 points, a Mizorowski, if you will. He should be set up very well for next year. But before we move on to our next matchups, we'll move on to our bench blunder. That's right, not bench blunders, but bench blunder. In part, of course, this is because there were just 2 matchups rather than 6. But these teams played it really, really tight this week. Overall, when I classify bench blunders, typically it's if a batter scores 10 or more points, or if a pitcher has kind of a solid start, so 15 to 20 plus points on the bench. Obviously, more than that as well. The only one was Caden Dana, who scored 20 points on Wednesday for Flaming Prius. He was on the bench. Prius did not need it. He had a pretty comfortable win there, but that was just our one bench blunder for the week. Hopefully we'll see it. Well, for podcasting purposes, I have to say, hopefully it's played a little looser next week. But for these teams, very impressive work, just having the one there. And we'll be back around with that next week. But we will move into next week's notes as we will preview the semifinal matchup. So, of course, this is just a 1-week matchup, just like this past one in the quarterfinals. All 4 of these teams looking to punch their ticket to the inaugural Lollygaggers Dynasty World Series. So I guess, is this the LDCS that we're in now?
Yes.
I think we're heading there. Yeah, the LDCS. So
no, this is we're going into the CSs now.
The CSs. Did I say DS?
Yeah.
I'm thinking Lollygaggers Dynasty Championship Series.
Yes. Yeah. Championship Series round.
Championship Series. There you go. Yeah.
Winners of these will go to the quote unquote World Series.
World Series, yes, which is the world champions, as we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
World champions. No, so this is obviously a very exciting matchup, and as I was kind of saying like last week, I think part of what makes this so fun is not just the stakes, but like the quality of teams going up against each other, and just seeing these matchups is so freaking exciting. So we will obviously start off with Prius versus JMC. This is the 6-2 matchup. So Flaming Prius came in as a 6 seed, JMC that 2 seed there. JMC, we previewed Prius a decent amount last week. Obviously shared how we got here. That pitching staff is the key. Right. It is what did the trick for him. And he showed out this past week as to why that was the case, and didn't play much like a 6 seed, I have to say. So
no, he did not.
JMC will be up for a challenge, but you know what? I think he'll be okay, because JMC had a pretty impressive season of his own. Of course, it was a hot start, and then sort of altered there by our catch that I hadn't put a formal cap on starts.
Yes.
We sort of had the cap, but in Fantrax, it's not just that you need sort of a limit, but you need to set what happens when you reach that limit. And that is something in sort of programming all of this out I had not done. And so there were a number of teams that were over their allocated 10 starts. You might remember after week 3, there was a little bit of a switch up, and JMC fell from, I think, 2-1 to 1-2, and fell way down the list. Sort of worked his way back, and of course we all remember the big turning point when Ronald Acuna Jr. made his way back midsummer. He finished, or I guess it's finished the quote-unquote regular season with 243 points, which doesn't sound that impressive, but he only played about half a season, so that is obviously a pretty big number. But when it comes to the batters, there is one name that stands out for JMC, and that is Arson pardon me, Aaron Judge, 628 points alone for the big right fielder, and he is back hitting in a pretty hot Yankees lineup right now, so he should certainly show out well for JMC. Not too many stars beyond that, but a really solid contingent of good players. William Contreras, if you're not named Cal Raleigh, he was the best catcher in the league this year. One of the best, certainly, especially after a little bit of a slow start there. We saw really, really nice performances, kind of surprising from Wyatt Langford and Jackson Holiday, guys who had, not had the best years last year and were kind of looking to solidify themselves. And the pitching staff, I think, is where we start to see some of the other really impressive numbers. 639 from Carlos Rodon on the year, and a bit over 500 for kind of a surprise in Gavin Williams there, and then a pretty strong supporting cast as well. Abner Uribe as a relief pitcher has been phenomenal, over 400 points for him, and Jack Leiter, the youngster, has been really, really solid for JMC, also putting up almost 400 points there. So it is not a surprise that JMC made his way here. I think both of us certainly predicted him to make the playoffs. I believe I even had him in the championship, losing to Prius. Of course, that won't be the case. They're facing off in the the championship series here, but he was pretty highly regarded, and this will be a fascinating matchup. I think, especially with the tricky case with starting pitchers, where if they go twice one week, they will only go once the next week. I can't say for sure how many of Prius's guys did go twice, because obviously, as we talked about, they just had good weeks. Right. They did. So, it wasn't just accumulation where he had a guy go multiple times, and so it kind of added up there. But, if some of those pitchers don't necessarily go twice again, or if they don't kind of have those quote-unquote perfect weeks like we talked about, we could definitely see a dip from Flaming Prius, and JMC certainly has the strong base to kind of bounce back from that. Another name to shout out is Jurickson Profar, who's dropped by Hideki following his PED suspension. I know we kind of mentioned that early on. It's like, ooh, this is one to keep an eye out on. I think he was I want to say a 6th round pick. Let me check. It is loading up. A 10th round pick. Pardon me. 10th round pick. So not quite as bad as 6. But still, especially in a league this deep. 10th round pick is not nothing. He was dropped after that, and he came back, and turns out PEDs don't wear off after 80 days. He was hitting very, very well, and has continued to do so for JMC. So it's kind of another name to keep an eye on there, and we will certainly see. Of course, this is, I think the case with a lot of us. We have a lot of players from our favorite teams. So just in terms of batters, JMC is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Yankees on the batter side, and 3, 4 on the pitching side. So, that's a total of 10 Yankees. I think definitely keep an eye on the Yankees schedule and performances over here to kind of have a clue as to how things will go for him. Not quite as much of a Rays swing for Prius there. I do think he has a couple. I know he's got what's that pitcher there? Pepio, but not too many other Rays there. So, of course, we know the deal with Prius. Vladdy being the big bats, along with Caminero and Trey Turner, who unfortunately did suffer an injury today. We day-to-day with a hamstring injury, so we don't know a lot. But if he's out for any time, that could be a pretty significant hit. And then, of course, we know the real story. Derek Skubal, Paul Skeens, Max Fried, Luis Castillo, Hunter Brown, Nick Lodolo, Ryan Pepiot. Yeah. You know the deal. It's the pitching staff there. He's got a lot of pitchers, very Razy, as we mentioned. So that is going to be a fascinating matchup, but it is, of course, not the only one. We've got Hideki versus Mike in our other matchup. Hideki being the 4 seed coming in, and Mike, who did finish the season as the 1 seed. We talked so much throughout the season as he made all those trades about how he was kind of going all in, and Ace, you I think put it really well, where there is only one, and if you're gonna go all in, and shit, Mike did that. He really did. And, it
Mike,
worked out for him.
I didn't mean it so literally, did.
Yeah, he basically said, "Fuck the future, we're winning right now." And,
we're winning now.
Yes. He won now. He did. Yeah. He and JMC finished tied. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I had Prius and Mike in the final matchup. I could totally be wrong.
Maybe.
But I gotta go back and check.
Flip
episode.
through, see when that when those predictions were.
Yeah. Definitely have to look at that. But it's definitely gonna be a very, very exciting matchup. These are Hideki, I mean, like we saw, Hideki put up, 600 points this past week. Mike puts up what seems like 500-point weeks at the regular.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be a matter of, like I said, we're at the point now where it's the regular season's out the window. How well you did then and how consistent your team did then is out the window. Now it's just a matter of who is going to put up the most amount of points now. And it is insane. I love these matchups, and I know these first rounds weren't incredibly close, but I have a sneaking suspicion that these are going to be much, much closer.
Yes, I think so too. Of course, to me, the big question is, will Hideki's pitching staff show out in the way they did last week, where we were talking about over, 320, something like that, that they put up? Will we see that again? That's definitely a question. Mike has a really well-rounded team. Of course, the big story with him this season is trading, and you see that in kind of the batters that led the way for him. In terms of total points, obviously these guys didn't score all of their points for him because a lot of them were trade chips, but Mookie Betts was in the 500s, as was Rafael Devers. Boy, it'd be nice to have them both on the same team. Cody Bellinger, also a trade piece that Mike brought over, was in the 500s. Bo Bichette, who is questioned a bit as a draft pick at the time, put up almost 600. Pete Alonso did, of course, put up over 600, and then Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, put up 570 there. He has been by far and away the best catcher and unbelievably clutch for Mike, and it does look like he's getting hot again with the home run stick, but don't worry, he's got the pitchers too. Christopher Sanchez, who's always around, Brian Wu, Merrill Kelly, and Matthew Boyd. All of those guys have over 600 points. A little bit shallower beyond there, and I would say the one thing to keep an eye on is relief pitchers. Quite a few in the 200s or a couple in the low threes, but he doesn't have that one really stand out like big performer from the relief pitchers. But another name to keep an eye on is Hunter Green, who of course just recently came back from injury and has really been phenomenal. So he could certainly have a couple good starts for Mike here down the stretch. I don't know how much of this team is the same from when it started. It's not that much. It's pretty much just the Mariners. But Mike is incredibly well-rounded on both sides. So
yes.
It's going to take a pretty impressive performance from Hideki to upset him here. Of course, we saw that last week, him putting up 628. Who do you see as the winner here? Ace, give us your prediction for Hideki versus Mike.
Man, I mean, I gotta stick with my predictions that I'm fairly certain. I'm like 90% certain I have Mike and Prius winning. So there you go. I guess there's my quote unquote matchup winners right there. I have Mike taking down Hideki, and I got Prius taking down JMC. For Mike, it's just quite simple. He's made every move to win now, and I just think he has. Hideki kind of talked about it a little bit in the Discord earlier. I think Mike's ceiling is just a little bit higher than what Hideki's is, and I think their floor is probably right about the same. So if you're giving me, who am I taking in the long run, it's going to be Mike. And then for Prius, it's the same reason I took him in this past matchup. That pitching staff is just absolutely diabolical. It still blows my mind. Here we are, 3 weeks left in the season. It still blows my mind that he somehow was able to put that together through the draft and whatnot. But I digress. That's all I really needed to say about him. I think that pitching staff will carry him to victory. But that's not to say JMC, obviously, he's the second seed, and his bats can 1,000% keep up. I just think the consistency that comes from flaming is just going to be a little bit too much for JMC to handle.
Yeah, I also have Mike taking this matchup. I have to say that team is unbelievably stacked.
Yeah.
There is so much talent on that roster. Not only is the ceiling high, but the floor is pretty damn high as well.
Right.
He is not relying all on, a core group of 2 or 3 guys to be hot. He is not relying on, high variance batters or pitchers. It is strong across the board. And it's just going to be hard to pick against him at any point when his team looks like this. Hideki, I think, has a chance to put up a good fight. We obviously saw what his pitching staff can do. He didn't get here by accident. He has some phenomenal batters as well. And, when you're kind of getting huge performances like this, I know he's had a sort of nice breakout season, but when you're getting performances like this from Joe Adell, and he's not really like the A ticket on Hideki's, in terms of his batters, George Springer has been phenomenal. Ketel Marte, there's not enough good stuff to say about him. Oh yeah, there's that Bobby Witt Jr. guy. He's pretty good. If you're getting those along with performances from your Joe Adells, from your Jake Bergers, from your Taylor Wards, Andrew Benintendi, who hit a bunch of home runs this week, I would not be blown away if we were to see a Hideki upset here. And on to the other matchup. Actually, I'm going in the other direction. I've got JMC over Prius. Prius's team has been pretty high variant. It's been pretty high variance recently. There's, he had a tough few weeks. He was right up at the top couple slots, and then he slid down quite a bit. I don't think he ever technically fell out, but obviously there was that last week where he had to kind of win and get in. And we did see a strong week from him, in the 550s range, but there just, I think, has been a little bit too much, too big of a range for me to feel super comfortable picking him here. And JMC's team has, I think, won when they need to a lot. And that sounds stupid because this is fantasy baseball and not real baseball, but it just feels like it kind of works out like that. He just pulls out those wins, and he, starts the right guys, and I don't know. I just kind of have a little bit of a feeling about JMC that he's going to walk away out of this one. So in my original predictions, I did actually have Flaming Prius as the winner for the entire league, but I'm going to flip it a little bit here, and I do have JMC taking him down. So my prediction for the final is JMC versus Mike. I know, very bold of me to go there for the 1-2 seeds. And then
I at least went with some pizzazz.
Yeah, come on. I will say a 6-1 would be pretty fun.
That'd be awesome
to see that in the finals. And of course, if we saw 4-2 as well, that would be pretty cool. So Absolutely. It's going to be exciting no matter what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Obviously a little bit more abridged episode that we had here, just a couple to recap. We'll be back next week with a recap of these and a preview of the finals. Before we do that little, have some fun with some superlatives in the middle and catch up about how the finals have been going. So, best of luck to all of our competitors. The rest of you, enjoy your time off. I know I have not been at all. And we'll see you again this time next week.
Don't worry, you'll enjoy it more when the draft comes.
You know what that makes you, Larry? Lollygaggers.